On Tech News Today, it's day 2 of CES, and we've got new details and new trends from the show floor. Plus, Monster sues over Apple's acquisition of Beats, and the FTC is freaking out about the Internet of Things. We'll tell you why. It's all coming up next on Tech News Today.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, January 7th, 2015. This episode is brought to you by NatureBox. NatureBox ships great-tasting snacks right to your door. Start snacking smarter with wholesome, delicious treats like blueberry Greek yogurt pretzels. To get your complimentary NatureBox sampler, visit naturebox.com/twit. That's naturebox.com/twit. Tech News Today is a show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. Welcome to the show. I'm Mike Elgan. Good morning, Jason Cleanthes. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, trying to juggle everything over here.
Yeah, there's a lot of plates spinning over there, and we have also as our co-anchor today, Katie Benner from New York in the global headquarters of Bloomberg International. How you doing, Katie Benner?
I'm doing great. Here it is, all the glass. This is what Bloomberg HQ looks like. It's beautiful.
It's a lot of glass. It's like a preview of the Apple spaceship campus almost, but in Manhattan. So you're a tech columnist for Bloomberg View. You've been doing that for what now? About 3 months or 3-4 months, something like that?
Pretty much just hit the 3-month anniversary mark. It's great. I really love it.
I'm really enjoying your columns. It's great to see you doing these the kind of opinion columns you're now doing. And I'm really enjoying it. I get it coming into my email inbox, and I never miss a column, and I really like it. So great job there.
Thanks so much.
All right, why don't we launch into the news? It's day 2 of the International CES show in Vegas. Some 3,600 exhibitors are blanketing 2.2 million square feet of exhibition space, all kinds of technology. Twit's own father, Robert Ballecer, is there on the show floor and joins us now live. How you doing, Padre?
Pretty good. I'm coming to you over satellite delay from the central hall of CES. Behind me, you're going to see Intel, one of the mega booths here at the start of the central hall. And I got to say, this has been a hopping CES.
Yeah, it is great, and we will give it a second. It is going to space. And so, yeah, there's about a 2-second delay, I'm guessing. So, Padre, there are so many wearables at this show being announced. It's actually hard to discern the trends. Do you have a sense of where this category is headed based on new products at the show?
Absolutely. So I think the overriding trend is ignore the hardware. Everybody has hardware. Everyone has a band. Everyone has a gadget that goes onto your clothing or into your bed. Everyone has something that will run your home automation. But the big trend has been what happens in the back end. I think the wearables have already become commodities, and the companies that are going to be making a move are the ones that are actually taking the information from that wearable internet, the internet of wearable things, and turning it into usable information.
Got it. So one of the things, I know you said ignore the hardware, but another story that keeps coming up again and again is this idea of an affordable car and LEO motors. I'm wondering if this is something that you've talked to people about or something you've seen.
Yeah. Well, again, one of the things that we've seen is that the first generation was just information. You had your Fitbits and you had your devices from Microsoft that gave you basic information. Then you went from information to analysis, where you would have things that would suggest a workout plan for you. And now we've got companies that are taking that information, doing big data correlations on them, and selling them back to the corporations that want to buy you. I think that's actually the wearable revolution.
Now, Padre, there seems to be something of a battle brewing between Intel and NVIDIA. There's a lot of really interesting tech coming out of both companies, and some really interesting commentary and sort of philosophy coming out of these companies as well. Intel, we know, has become a huge powerhouse in the Internet of Things. Both these companies want to be involved in cars. Both want to be involved in the living room. Both want to be involved in mobile, all these other areas. What are you sensing in terms of this battle? How is this shaking out there at CES?
Oh, at CES, if you just look at the product announcements, and actually if you go to the booth behind me and take a look at Intel's brand new release, the Curry, you could see Intel and NVIDIA going in divergent paths. At the beginning of CES, NVIDIA released the Tegra X1, 256 GPU cores on top of 8 CPU cores. And the idea was to give you a ridiculously fast processor inside of your mobile devices that won't use up a lot of power. Intel went the other way. They released the Curry. They did a big bet on this. It is a tiny system on a chip, a dual core, and they're betting on makers to make the next generation of wearables and mobile devices that maybe don't require a lot of power, but are better for the Internet of Things.
You know, another thing that came out, this is not necessarily related to hardware, it's not necessarily related to Internet of Things or data, but Intel announced at the conference that they're committing a lot of money to workplace diversity. And I'm wondering if after that announcement, that's something that created chatter at CES, so if it broke up some of the conversation around gadgets, data, wearables.
Exactly. And that's why if you look at the Intel booth behind me right now, about half of the booth is dedicated to non-traditional Intel devices. They've got Oculus in there. They've got a huge maker space. And they're betting that their chip in all these devices means they get more data points than everybody else. It's a subtle philosophical shift from just making faster and faster processors.
All right, Padre, I know it's very difficult for you to hear there on the show floor. It's very noisy. Your video looks great. You look marvelous, but the audio is probably a challenge for you. We're gonna let you go and continue to cover this for the TWiT network. We're gonna see you popping up on all kinds of shows here today and this week. So I want to really thank you, Father Robert Ballecer, for joining us live under these circumstances. Father Robert Ballecer is a host on This Week in Enterprise Tech, Know-How, Coding 101, and Padre's Corner. You can subscribe to all his shows at twit.tv, and you can follow him on Twitter at PadreSJ. Thank you so much for joining us, Padre.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, in just a sec, we're going to tell you about some catastrophic and really depressing news coming out of France. But first, I want to tell you about NatureBox, one of our sponsors today. You know, NatureBox is a subscription healthy snack service that solves a lot of the problems we all have. You know, you go to the store, you should never shop hungry, first of all, and you buy all kinds of junk food. You bring it home, and there it is. You get hungry. You don't feel like cooking a whole meal, so you grab some snacks. We all snack. And so if you're going to snack, it's a good idea to have healthy snacks always at the ready. Healthy snacks like from NatureBox. They have so many to choose from, way over 100 snacks to choose from. And right now, you can get a complimentary trial box of their most popular snacks for free. You just pay for $2 for the shipping, and you can try it out. Once you try it out, I can guarantee you're going to love it. They have all kinds of really, really great snacks like apple pie oat clusters, cherry vanilla granola, mocha almond bars, so many good things. Here's coffee kettle popcorn for you popcorn fans who also like coffee. It's just fantastic. And of course, they have 0 artificial flavors, 0 artificial colors, no artificial sweeteners, 0 grams of trans fats, no high fructose corn syrup, none of the bad stuff that sort of pollutes all the regular junk food you find in the store. You'll even find snacks with no added sugar at all, and also gluten-free snacks. Start your trial today. Get a complimentary sampler box at naturebox.com/twit. Stay full, stay strong, start snacking smarter. Go to naturebox.com/twit, and we thank NatureBox for their support of Tech News Today. Well, 2 gunmen burst into the Paris offices of a French magazine called Charlie Hebdo today and killed 12 people. The publication occasionally mocks violent Muslim extremists with satirical cartoons, many of them posted on Twitter. Approximately 1 hour before the attack, the magazine's Twitter account tweeted a cartoon of ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, along with a tweet in French saying, "Good health and best wishes." It's not clear whether the tweet was posted by the magazine, by hackers of the account, or if the attack was somehow related to the tweet. The attackers escaped and are still at large. Katie Benner, this is another sort of result, I guess, from globalization, from the fact that the values in one country are being consumed by extremists all over the world, and then there's repercussions. This is a horrible terrorist attack based on a clash between one group of fanatics who are getting violent over their religious beliefs, as far as we can tell, and a free society exercising their rights of free speech. I can't see how we're not going to have more of this with globalization of social media, and the insistence, the correct insistence, in my view, of free countries to exercise their rights of free speech in terms of satirical cartoons, in terms of commentary, in terms of whatever. What do you make of this attack? Do you really think it's related to their Twitter feed, or is this something else?
No, I mean, I think, as you say, we're going to see more clashes happen as information is able to flow more freely between different countries and different points of view and different ideologies. Obviously, the violence around the attack is reprehensible, but I don't think that the idea of having difficult conversations is necessarily bad. And one of the things that we've seen is that a lot of other satiric cartoonists and activists have sort of started saying, listen, we're all Charlie Hebdo right now. It's all up to us to try to make these important statements because that's more powerful than terrorism. So there is this pushback to get more information out rather than take information off of the internet and to take our presences off of social media and be cowed by a violent action. So I think that that's the right, I think that that's the right thing to do, and I think that it actually speaks to the power of things like really great satire and strong editorial, that they can break through the noise and the clutter of social media and Twitter as well.
Exactly. And, if you want to follow this story as it unfolds today, you can just follow the hashtag Charlie Hebdo, and you'll get all the tweets related to the attack and everything that happens. Again, the police are looking for the perpetrators there. Well, audio equipment maker Monster has filed suit against Beats Electronics. The company claims that Beats founders Jimmy Iovine and Dr. Dre conspired to separate the headphones brand from Monster before the $3.2 billion acquisition by Apple. Jeremy C. Owens wrote the story for Silicon Valley's San Jose Mercury News and joins us now. Hey, how's it going, Jeremy?
Not bad, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Now, why does Monster believe they were cheated by Beats?
Well, Beats started with Monster. It was a partnership. They spent about 3 years. And there's really two big cruxes of their argument here. One is that the HTC made a $300 million investment in Beats itself. And because of that investment, they were able to exercise a change of control clause on the contract and basically extract Beats from its partnership with Monster. And Monster says that move was a shameless sham to get that money and to get that clause exercised so that they could get away. And Noah Lee, the founder of Monster, ended up in the end with about 1.25% of Beats. And then he was convinced to sell that stake in Beats for about $5.5 million, which 8 months later would have been worth about $60 million in the acquisition by Apple. And he was told at the time, he says, by Beats officials that there was no liquidity event coming. There was no acquisition in the works, when, in fact, allegedly, Apple and Beats were already in talks at that time. So he feels he got the Beats did him wrong on both ends of those deals.
So Beats wronged him, but also I think the suit alleges that Monster was cheated out of an idea or some sort of IP. I'm sure Beats makes a great product, but as far as I can tell, it's a set of headphones that just has really great marketing behind it. So I'm curious as to what kind of idea or technology the suit alleges so important that it was stolen.
Well, it wasn't really ideas or technology as much as the global supply chain and all the connections to Asian component manufacturers and all the things that Monster brought to Beats, this infrastructure, if you will, that then they say that Beats absconded with when they split from Monster.
Now, Jeremy, there are 4 companies involved in this whole fiasco. Of course, Monster, Beats, Apple, and the fourth company is HTC. If the courts prove that the HTC control move, as they're characterizing it, was a sham, as they said, does HTC have a lawsuit too? I mean, they're the ones who really lost a lot of money here.
Well, they're named in the lawsuit as a possible contributor to this, but it's all going to depend on once they get into court, if they get into court, and what happens from there. But this is really aimed at Dr. Dre, Jimmy Iovine, Paul Wachter, who is on the board of Beats. Those are the ones that Noah Lee, the founder of Monster, seems to really be going after. And HTC, it's going to depend on what they can find in emails. They're gonna try and get discovery. They're gonna try and find emails between HTC and the Beats principals that can prove that was a sham investment. I mean, Beats HTC put in $300 million for 51% of Beats, and then Beats bought back half that stake right after the deal was over. So the optics aren't great, but if they can't prove that HTC knew what was going on and it was involved in some kind of conspiracy, HTC is probably not going to be held liable for much of anything.
Got it. Now, I think there's been bad blood between Monster and Beats for a while now, and long before this lawsuit. So I'm wondering if you can sort of walk us through the history between these two companies, because clearly this lawsuit didn't just come out of the blue.
No, it didn't. And what seems to really rankle Monster, and especially what they call head Monster, Noel Lee, the founder and leader, is that he sees Dre and Iovine and these guys taking credit for the Beats headphones when he feels that it was their technology that allowed them to create these headphones. So even though a lot of this happened in 2011, is when the HTC investment allowed Beats to extract itself from Monster. What has happened since then has just built up this acrimony. Anytime Dre and Iovine are on TV or at a press conference and talking about how Beats came to be and trying to take credit, it just seems to rankle Monster more and more and more and more. And I think that's where a lot of the bad blood comes from. If Beats would just, come out and say, we have these headphones because Monster helped us build them and build the technology, and it's really a lot of Monster tech in here, I think the bad blood would kind of dissipate a bit from Monster's end.
Jeremy, are you at CES?
I am not. I am in the San Jose Mercury News office right now. Troy Wolverton is at CES, and I'm talking to him.
All right, wonderful. Well, Jeremy C. Owens is at SiliconValley.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at jowens510. Thank you so much for joining us, Jeremy.
Thank you for having me, Mike.
Federal Trade Commission Chairwoman Edith Ramirez said at CES yesterday that she's concerned about risks emerging from the Internet of Things revolution. Tom Risen is a technology and business reporter for U.S. News and World Report and joins us now. Hey, Tom, how you doing?
Hi, good afternoon. Well, at least here on the East Coast it is.
It's a good afternoon there, good morning here. What's Edith Ramirez's concern with the Internet of Things exactly?
Well, this is a big theme with her commission over with the Obama administration, is that she has been pushing for greater privacy by design. She has been pushing for the government to encourage business to bake privacy into the design of devices. The past couple of last year was really what Intel CEO Brian Krzanich calls the birth of the wearables revolution. And this year we're seeing that continue, where the Internet of Things, all these devices from blenders and washing machines and cars are all connected to the Internet. And she revisited this theme where she's concerned that they will be vulnerable to hackers, or people might be giving up information to companies that they don't have control over. They don't know what their data is being shared for. And she says we all need to make sure that privacy and security are handled first before there's a problem. And this is a problem between Democrats and Republicans. Some Republicans revisit this theme that if you put more enforcement and government regulation onto devices, that will stifle innovation, that will slow down the process of getting products to market, and it might give other countries a chance to outpace us when it comes to technology. So this is a big, we're going to see a lot of this in the coming session of Congress.
Got it. And, we'll see Congress debating this issue, but does her concern also signal that we should be looking for stricter regulations around Internet of Things, early regulations, regulatory guidelines, and if so, what might they look like?
Yeah, the FTC they've been enforcing privacy with companies like Google and Facebook, and they say that it sounds like they're pushing for more of that they're pushing to expand their enforcement. And some Republicans like Kelly Ayotte in the Senate are concerned that they might be going too far, that it might discourage investment at companies, that it might slow down these release of products. And they say that Adam Thierer, who works over at Mercatus with George Mason, was on a panel with her and said that he favors a reactive approach, where he says there should be more education about people giving up data on wearables and about cybersecurity and privacy, but he thinks that the government should take a less preemptive approach because he thinks that could damage the business. He thinks that privacy is a very real threat, but he thinks that he's one of the people who thinks that the government should not be as preemptive as they sound like they want to be.
I personally fear that the government sort of underplays or doesn't appreciate the degree to which everything is going to be internet connected. I mean, so many things, not everything, but I mean, the Internet of Things is going to be such a gigantic market in terms of the variety and number of products on the market. They're going to come in every description. And, it's going to be almost impossible. It's going to be like the, regulation of the food industry in the United States right now. There essentially isn't any. The food companies and the additive makers and so on are called upon to do their own policing of themselves mostly, and then when they do get before a regulatory body, those 100% of the people on those regulatory bodies are from the industry, and so it's really if they start having to approve, if there's a long waiting time for Internet of Things devices that's similar to, like, say, smartphones. I mean, we're going to be waiting forever for these things simply because there are so many. How are they going to, if you figure that if there are, 10,000 devices coming out a year, let's say, do they really have the capacity to make sure that each and every one of these devices is protecting user privacy and so on? I mean, do they have the ability, the money, whatever it takes?
Well, I want to be clear. The Federal Trade Commission is not technically a regulatory body. It's an enforcement body. They have the power, they have a mandate to enforce companies who have misleading or deceptive practices. And they've been talking about broadening that in the technology space. And Republicans and some people in the industry are concerned about that. But they do have the mandate to do it, and they might. They have a report coming out soon about the Internet of Things, and they've been working on this for a while about suggestions they have, and that could inform legislation. So I think that would just set enforcement guidelines. It wouldn't technically be a regulation that would slow things down. Like at some other, like at the FDA, people have to get a license with the FDA before they can put something on the market. They could put something on the market. They can make a wearable and put it on for sale, but they would have to make sure that it would be, it would meet these, that it wouldn't risk the enforcement of the Trade Commission, that they would be, they wouldn't have to get a license before they sold it, is the point.
Very interesting. We were displaying the photo of you since you're calling in by phone and you're wearing Google Glass. Are you a big Google Glass fan? How often do you use Google Glass? Just quickly.
That was me testing Google Glass. I have a Fitbit and I have some small wearables, but I don't have a Google Glass. My friend was developing applications for it. I think that some of the applications coming out for it are pretty interesting. Like there's one here, a Washington, D.C. startup is working on that shows where government agencies are at, that shows where, that kind of has a drop down of statistics related to government agencies. Like if you're near the Treasury Department, they have a drop-down of some useful statistics that could help you. It's designed for policymakers, people who are designing policy, or nonprofits in Washington, D.C. that want to know more about the agencies they're directing their policy reports to. So there's all sorts of different applications that are coming out for it. I'm waiting for more of those before I buy my own.
My own
$1,500, right?
Yeah, my own feeling is that Google Glass first came out, everybody was super excited. Then an angry mobs essentially shouted it down all the Google Glass users. Everybody came to the conclusion that the whole thing was over and it was a dead end and so on. And after that happened, now people think it's essentially dead. And after it's been so-called dead, all these really innovative applications are coming out and people aren't that interested in them, even though there's some really great stuff out there. Anyway, Tom Reisen is at usnews.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at Tom Reisen. Thank you so much for joining us, Tom.
Thank you.
All right, we've got some updates for you. The WhatsApp messaging service, bought by Facebook for $19 billion last February, has grown to an incredible 700 million monthly active users. The service has added 200 million users since Facebook acquired it. WhatsApp users are sending more than 30 billion messages per day. This is an unstoppable powerhouse, Katie Benner. I just think it's amazing how many users this company has managed to get. It's incredible.
It's incredible. This is what happens when a company is acquired by a healthy, flourishing company. It has a chance to grow and all sorts of resources, which is great. And also WhatsApp had, basically it's trying to capture a messaging market. And the moat that it has is the fact that the telco companies haven't yet figured out how to deal with something like WhatsApp. So the minute that SIM costs come down and messaging costs come down with traditional telcos, WhatsApp may no longer have that sort of steam behind it. So it's really doing a great job of using the opportunity it has in front of it, taking advantage of it, getting as many users onboarded before, the big telecom companies wise up and figure out that they just can't charge for messaging anymore.
Yeah, good point. Well, China's Lenovo officially took possession of Motorola less than 3 months ago. Yesterday, the company says it plans to start selling the Moto X in China starting next month, followed later by the Moto G and a Nexus 6 lookalike optimized for the Chinese market to be called the Moto X Pro. The company also said they'd bring the Moto Maker customization service to the Chinese market. Katie Benner, I'm really sad about this. I think I'm going to start crying. We lost our Moto Maker website and China got one. It's just, life isn't fair.
I know, that's what happens when you're not in the growth market. You just don't get to have all the fun stuff.
Yeah, what a bummer.
So, the battle is going to happen in China.
Yeah, darn it. The Los Angeles Police Department is rolling out new Taser weapons and also body cameras for police officers. That's pretty ordinary news these days in the wake of events in Ferguson, Missouri last year. But here's what's interesting about it. The Tasers are designed to automatically trigger video recording by the body cameras when they're deployed. Katie, this is really a great idea, I think. We've been talking about this all last year about body cameras, and the problem with body cameras is who's in charge of when to record. If the police want to be abusive, they can hit record. If they're suddenly attacked, they don't have time to hit the record button. There's so many ways that body cameras could end up not realizing their potential simply because who's in control of recording it. I think it's a fantastic idea that when a taser is deployed or when a gun is pulled out of the holster, that automatically starts the recording process, because that's really, those two events are really what trigger most of the controversial problems and conflicts between police and, say, protesters or suspects and so on. I think this is fantastic technology. I didn't know that this was even possible.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully this is the sort of thing that will help jurors when we see, alleged wrongful deaths by due to police action. I think we've already seen a couple of cases, though, where even having the video footage doesn't necessarily mean that citizens will feel that the right thing has been done. So I think you're right. It's a combination of making sure the technology works correctly, and then a matter of our judicial system and who we are as a society coming together to figure out, when we see these tapes, what to do with them and how to respond.
Yeah, that's a great point. Well, in other news, Bang & Olufsen have rolled out a $2,800 sound system at CES called the BioSound Moment. It involves touch controls, including a flat touchpad-like surface and also an iPod-like circle they call a mood wheel for controlling music play. The mood wheel is color-coded with zones for selecting the mood of the music that will play automatically. But here's the amazing part. The touch control surfaces are not made out of glass, plastic, or metal. Instead, they're made out of wood. They're made out of oak, to be exact. So, watch out for splinters. Katie, I'm a sucker for wooden stuff, wooden technology. I got wooden glass. These are like wooden glasses, and I used to have a wood-backed Moto X. I love when technology is married with dead tree parts.
You're like a retro hipster. I had no idea.
Totally. That's exactly right. Otherwise known as an aging hippie. I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I love the wood stuff. It's just really cool, and this is really an interesting idea. I don't know how they do it. How do they get the sensors? I guess maybe it's a really thin panel of wood. We'll have to look into this. We'll get Padre on it, and he can do a dissection of it.
The Tech News Today investigative unit.
That's right. The Tech News Today Labs has ripped apart this expensive piece of technology. Now, we're probably not going to do that, but we'll figure it out one way or the other, and I'll tell you all about it once we find out. Well, our TNT fan of the day is Robin Emery in Gillingham, UK, who watches TNT in the kitchen at tea time. He also says Happy New Year to everybody at TNT, and we thank you, and Happy New Year to you as well, Robin. Appreciate that. How do you watch or listen to TNT? Just record a video or take a picture of your setup or yourself and post it on Google+, Twitter, or Facebook, and use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we'll find it. That is the Tech News Today. Katie Benner, how can people read your columns?
Well, they should go to BloombergView.com. They can follow me on Twitter at KTBenner, or they could check out Bloomberg.com as well. Yeah, and that's the letter K, the letter T, and Benner with two N's. That's right. All right. Well, thank you so much, Katie, and hope to see you co-anchoring next week as well. Of course. Have a great day. All right. Take care. You can subscribe to Tech News Today on Yahoo, or you can choose another way to subscribe at twit.tv/TNT. You can follow us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV, and subscribe to our subreddit at technewstoday.reddit.com. And please send us your thoughts and opinions to TNT@twit.tv or call us at 260-TNT-SHOW. Don't miss our evening newscast, Tech News Tonight at 4 p.m. Pacific, tonight and every weeknight, right here on the Twit Network.
My name's Mike Elgan. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.